What up? It's the Reef Man. I was conceived when Bud Green smoked a mega blunt. And now I live in his consciousness as an omniscient being. Pretty fucking dope, right? Now if you don't mind, this is what we call a Reef Man rant. Welcome back to my journey through changing ideologies. If you haven't watched part 1 of this essay, head over to the channel and give it a watch. If you don't give a shit, neither do I. So regardless, today we're going to be talking about the set of beliefs that are thought to be the groundwork for most of the world's major religions, Hermeticism. Alright, strap in. This is where it takes a turn. I don't know if I'd go so far as to call Hermeticism a religion, so I'd call it more of an ideology arising sometime around the pinnacle of ancient Egypt's ascent to power. It is based off of 2 texts known as the Corpus Hermeticum and the Emerald Tablet. For starters, both texts are similar to reading something like a modern tax clause. It's made more confusing with the purpose of not revealing the core principles of the teachings. As teachings are only passed down from ear to ear throughout all of history, actually writing anything down needs to be done in a way that would result in the mass amount of the population not being able to comprehend the vague teachings in the first place. A phrase used frequently when regarding the teachings of Hermeticism states that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. With this emphasis on secrecy, the true teachings of Hermeticism have passed down through history using the Corpus Hermeticum and the Emerald Tablet as their form of a sacred text, comparable to the other sacred texts such as the Bible, Torah, or the Quran. The Corpus Hermeticum is an albeit confusing work of stories produced by who is believed to be the founder of Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus means thrice greatest in Greek, and it's part of the legend where he lived to be 300 years old. So take this shit with a grain of salt, but the guy was basically a demigod in the eyes of his followers, so he must have been doing something right. The first text is organized as conversations between Hermes and his 2 followers, with each different conversation pertaining to one part or another of Hermeticism. Not any less confusing is the Emerald Tablet. Also written by Hermes Trismegistus, this piece of work is comparable to the 10 Commandments of Christianity, but if you thought the 10 Commandments were vague, get a load of this fucking shit. I could delve deeper into the contents of both these ancient texts, but for the sake of explaining anything to anyone in the 21st century, I know my handle on the rather ambiguous wording of many of the teachings in these texts is sketchy to say the least. So for the sake of explaining my take on the Hermetic texts, we will turn to a much more recent commentary on the teachings of one of the world's most sacred ideologies, the Kybalion. The Kybalian's creators decided to remain anonymous, but they call themselves the 3 Initiates, most likely alluding to the fact that they are initiates into the true wisdom of the Hermetic temples. Using more recent prose and terminology, the Kybalion explains the teachings of Hermeticism much simpler, with its core principles being described as so. And I'm about to go fucking stupid here. As above, so below. Everything that happens in this plane of existence also happens on another, that another being a different dimension than the one we currently experience. What you are beneath the surface is also what is contained outside the confines of yourself. To give an example of this, have you ever heard the mantra surrounding the albeit weak-ass argument against childhood bullying, where a bully usually has more problems than the person they're bullying? A confident, arrogant individual often has prominent character insecurities and uses their external world as a way to fight those insecurities, despite their internal world being nothing less than a nightmare. As above, so below. Everything is dual. Polarity is a law of the universe. When the pendulum swings one way, it will swing back the other at equal force. Every synonym has its antonym. Nothing is right or wrong. For example, you would say hot is the opposite of cold, but cold is really just a lack of heat, and hot is an excess of heat. Not very cold means the same thing as very hot. There's a difference in degree, not in definition. If you have a great sequence of events, a sequence of unfortunate events is likely to follow, and vice versa. Hermetics and Greek mythology placed a great amount of trust in the inevitable vengeful nature of the universe against hubris. Hubris being the excessive pride or arrogance commonly associated with defying the natural order our God created. Nothing rests. The universe is constantly vibrating within some form of unknown energy. What this is basically stating is what the realm of quantum physics, after years of otherworldly research, states today. So far at least I got that one right. Every cause has its effect. No matter how far back down the line of history you need to look, every effect has its cause and every cause has its effect. No action is met without consequences. That is the rule of the universe. If if the concept of chance did exist, the universe would be a chasm of uncontrollable chaos. Chance is more of a mathematical probability than a universal law. Take a deck of cards in a game of blackjack, for example. There's roughly a 32% chance of pulling a 10, jack, queen, king, or 10, out of any given deck. But the cause of that probability is alluded to the particular way the dealer shuffled the cards. Even in a casino shuffle where the cards are spread out in a seemingly random order, the dealer's slightest emphasis on pushing one card above another is the cause, while you getting dealt a 16 against the dealer's 10 is the effect. In short, there's no such thing as a safe bet. On that note, Drake London 1250 plus receiving yards, DJ Moore 1250 plus receiving yards. Parlay those together with a sprinkle of Jameson Williams 1000 plus receiving yards, and the 2025 NFL regular season should turn me into a millionaire. Laws of the universe aside.
I'm a gambling man, Paul.
The Kabbalion goes into a section on gender as a universal law as well, but it seems that most Hermetic scholars don't agree with this part of the book, so I'll explain it briefly for the sake of it. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. For example, an atom can have a proton or an electron. The proton seeks out connection with other atoms, while an electron intakes some of the atom's energy. The proton is similar to the masculine energy of seeking out a mate, while the electron is similar to the feminine energy of receival of said mate. Like I said, a bit of a sketchy principle, but you can see where it's coming from. Now, for what I find to be the most confusing principle of Hermetic wisdom. The all is mind, the universe is mental, mind is the all.
Reef man, what the fuck does this mean? This sounds like something you hear in a bad acid trip. Are you putting me on some hippie bullshit?
I swear it was as confusing for me as it is for you, but bear with me, this is about the best I can do in terms of an explanation. The principle of mentalism enforces the belief that everything we see and experience is just an outward reflection of our consciousness. Nothing is real, it's all just in our mind. Heavy stuff, I know, we'll come back to that point though. The material world is merely a projection of our conscious experience. And who gave us this consciousness? Well, we can turn to the aforementioned, quote-unquote, the all, which the Hermetics see as God. Not a physical, human-like rendition that many religions push on us today, but an energy that wills everything to exist in our universe. If you haven't heard the phrase, the observer is observed by the true observer, this is what the fuck it's talking about. There's your observations of the material world, then someone else, which we can call your unconscious, observing those observations. Then alas, at the deepest part of your psyche, there is another observing those observations, which the Hermetics consider the all. Stay with me now. The innermost observer, which we're looking at as God, not only exists as the fundamental makeup of your consciousness, but also exists in everything you see and experience. Nothing can exist outside, quote-unquote, the all, as it is infinite. With this information, it is implied that a process called mental transmutation can be undergone in which individuals can literally influence not only their material reality, but transfer this energy to other human consciousness. Hence the phrase mental transmutation. It is basically manipulating the law of the universe. Not to attain some godlike power, but to use the aforementioned laws of the universe to an individual's benefit. Think about it like this. Let's just say you had one of the best weeks of your life. You got the job, you're getting engaged, and you just won $1.5 million at the casino playing fucking penny slots. This is what a lot of people would call a hot streak. Similar to the story of Icarus flying too close to the sun and burning his wings, or the Greek emphasis on the revenge for hubris, the pendulum will swing back. But through the knowledge of these laws of the universe, initiates claim that one can do a form of mental gymnastics to avoid the harshest effects of these laws. No one is capable of avoiding the laws of the universe completely, they are inevitable, but one can use them to their benefit. And that is what the Hermetics preach. For my final point, I will go back to the emphasis on the universe's mental aspect of Hermetic wisdom. This brings up what is called the divine paradox. If everything is fundamentally just a creation of our consciousness, just a mental picture that only we see, that everything is fake, nothing is real, how are we supposed to cope with our material reality? Here's the thing. Our reality is very much real. I put an unimaginable amount of emphasis on that sentence because at the heart of it, that is the only thing that we can be sure of. Pulling from Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Everything we experience and see is infallibly real to us, and it is of utmost importance that we come to that realization. This is what the Hermetics feared as they passed down their wisdom only to the ears of understanding, knowing that if information like this could be twisted and misunderstood, it would cause mass hysteria throughout the conformist populations within societies. Referring back to archetypes, Hermeticism is the worst enemy of the everyman. Questions, comments, concerns? I fucking hope so. So I'll leave you with one quote to stew on until the next one. The further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. The nearer the center it reaches, the nearer free it is. Reef man, no kids, peace the fuck out.